Hello and welcome to the 5th episode of the Final Fantasy FXN podcast. I'm your host, David Turner, and I'm joined by co-host Katya.
Hey guys.
And by Josh.
Howdy.
And for the first time ever, we have our 4th person on the podcast, so we also have Brian with us today.
Hello, Kubo.
Our outline for this episode is our news segment, and, well, there's a big piece of news this time around, because Jump Festa, we had a brand new trailer for Lightning Returns, so very excited about that. And then we'll move on to our questions segment, and we'll finish things off with our feature discussion. If you're a first-time listener, the Final Fantasy FXN podcast is a monthly podcast presented by the Final Fantasy FXN network. You can subscribe to us on the iTunes Store, the Miro podcast directory, YouTube, and of course, finalfantasy-fxn.net. So, we'll start things right off with our news segment. Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII Jump Festa trailer. The first trailer was released at the Jump Festa 2013 in both Japanese and English. Several screenshots were also released alongside the trailer. And one of the things they showed off was the platforming elements. We saw quite a bit of that. As well, we also saw the day and night cycle, and finally the new battle system. So we'll start off with some impressions here. Katya, what did you think of the trailer?
Well, I thought it was alright, but nothing amazing. I mean, there's been many issues with it, a lot of frame rate slowdowns during it.
A lot of people have brought up the frame rate issues, but I don't think that's actually the game that's stuttering. I think it's the trailer itself, just the video.
The game could still be an alpha build as well.
Yeah, that's true. But people have said there's a difference between the English and Japanese versions, with the Japanese version being better. So the only explanation to me is that the video encoding ended up being slightly better on the Japanese version, and it didn't have as many of the frame rate issues.
Yeah, but this is the first trailer. It's supposed to be the first impression for people. Most people won't know all the details like that, all the technical stuff. So they're giving a better impression to other people.
But I think Square Enix has a kind of a bad reputation for making mistakes with things like this, because I remember when they first released, I think it was the first screenshots of Final Fantasy XIII running on the 360, and in one of the screenshots there was a mouse cursor in it. So it's like they just took a screenshot of a video and they accidentally had their mouse in there. So it wouldn't be the first time that they kind of made a major screw up like this.
Yeah, they should be more careful.
They really should be, yeah.
Because the series already have a lot of negative impressions, so they should try to make it as best as they could be.
Yeah. So Katya, what were the good and bad things would you say about this trailer?
Well, I kind of like the art direction, although the colors were a bit bland, and the battle system could be interesting, but we need more information on that.
Yeah.
And the bad, some people posted screenshots comparing Final Fantasy VIII and Final Fantasy, Lightning Returns, and they look pretty similar.
I actually didn't like how, the background looked.
The buildings were all very small.
Well, that, and it looked really flat.
Yeah.
At this generation, we really wouldn't expect something like that, so...
if you look at the textures on the background, on the floor, they look very pixelated and everything.
Yeah, so I guess I got a lot of Final Fantasy VIII vibes from it, especially. I just really, really didn't like the background. It was so poorly done for me.
It really looks like the game is still in an alpha build to me. It doesn't look very far along.
Yeah.
They're supposed to be, what are they at, 40%? Or was that the last thing was? 40% done? And it looks like it's 30. Barely started.
30 by September, I think.
January.
And the game could still end up being fun.
Yeah, I still think it might be a good game.
Yeah, it depends what they're going to make with it.
Yeah. Brian, what did you like about the trailer?
Oh, geez, what do I like about the trailer? It's so hard to find something good about it. I guess it was a little insightful that they showed some battle gameplay, although I still can't quite figure out the new kind of battle system they were talking so much about. It just seems like the old one with a little more control. I couldn't say for sure what I liked about the trailer, really, because it was kind of a disappointment in general for me.
Oh. What did you think of the platforming?
I think the platforming elements was basically their excuse for like, hey, come explore the city a little, you know, maybe if you jump to the higher points, you can find a treasure chest somewhere.
Yeah.
So I guess it's just their excuse to be like, yeah, look at the map.
We don't have a Moogle to throw around this time.
Nope.
And Josh, what about your impressions?
I don't know. Like it seems like it's too early for me to call because it does look like an alpha build, because it probably is. And it's things looked bad and some things looked really nice. It's kind of all over the place for me. Although I did see a glimpse of Noel's arm when the clock turns green.
Yeah,
so I
missed that.
Yeah.
I'll have to rewatch it and look for that.
I think it's like at the 1 minute mark. I don't remember where it is in the video exactly. But that was kind of cool. Like you saw like his hand and like the little strings he has on his arms. He was my favorite character in 13 too, so pretty excited he'll be around for sure.
Ew, Noel.
I liked Noel.
Aladdin? I call him Aladdin of Final Fantasy XIII.
I find it interesting that they released both English and Japanese versions. I mean, it feels like they might release both games in a similar time frame.
Well, wasn't 13.2 a worldwide release?
I think there was a couple months in between.
Oh, was there?
Yeah, like 2 or 3.
Yeah, I kind of think so too, actually.
Yeah, because in Japan it was released around December and we got it February or March.
It was end of January, I think.
Oh, maybe. Been a while.
I don't know. I didn't like the platforming elements either. They just they were there to be there, not really there to serve a purpose. It seemed like I'd have to see more for, I think.
Maybe they wanted to kind of test things out with Final Fantasy XIII too, so that they could perfect it in Lightning Returns in terms of platforming.
That would be a plan, because there was the last level of 13.2 was kind of platformer, with all those swinging bridges and stuff.
Yeah, it has all those rotating stuff, and you have to solve puzzles. Yeah. And if you fall down, you have to restart from a checkpoint.
Oh, it was bad.
Yeah, it's my least favorite part.
I don't know. I think it's too late for me to say, really. I don't know.
Yeah, one of the things I actually did like about the trailer was the platforming, because I think it has some potential. There is one concern, though, in that it might not be that useful. Like if they just have it in there just to say, oh look, we have platforming, but if there's really no meaning for it or purpose, then I think it'll end up being kind of a negative point to the gameplay. But I'd say from what I've seen so far, it could be more positive than not. And something I don't like about what I saw would be the graphics, because I thought the graphics were disappointing. I mean, it looks no better than 13, really.
It looks much worse, I think.
It does look worse.
Yeah, it looks like they put less time into it, polish, and like you guys were bringing up the backgrounds and just the environment in general looks very plain. And I remember somebody on the forums pointed out that this is supposed to be a lively like city or whatever, and there's like 3 NPCs walking around. So.
And they're all staring into Lightning's soul like she's the devil.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, that was the thing for me. Like when I watched the trailer, you know how they were saying how Luxurion was themed around mystery, right? And I was looking at the trailer and I was like, "There's nothing mysterious. It just looks like a city was half dead."
Checkerboards everywhere. Yeah. Checkerboards as far as the eye can see.
So in the trailer, there were a few things that you may not have seen the first time. For example, if you didn't notice, Chocolina is in the trailer for about 2 seconds. Did you guys notice that?
Nope.
I did.
You did?
Yep.
Negative.
You did not notice?
I did not. Where was it at?
You'll have to rewatch it. I think it was 1 minute and some 10 seconds or 14 seconds.
So right around where Noel shows up, I guess.
You can actually see it 1 minute 7 and 8.
Okay.
Maybe that was the time.
Minute 7 and 8. Lightning just kind of runs right past her.
Yeah, it's very brief and just right in the corner. So I wonder if that's where we'll be buying all of our stuff.
Actually, I wanted to talk about that for a little. According to the interview, Chocolina's role this time is not a shop NPC. So that means, well, what they said was her role's more going to be like supporting Lightning, probably plot and story wise. So yeah, not shop NPC.
Oh, well, there you go. So maybe there'll be shops within the town or towns to buy
that would be
stuff,
much better.
I think that would be better too.
Yeah. Also, at the end of the Saw's DLC in 13.2, didn't she say she wanted to help Lightning or something like that?
Maybe.
I I haven't played the DLC since it came out, so I don't remember. Do you guys?
I don't remember.
All they said was she will play a different role other than the shop, like
Right.
in 13.
Yeah, but they haven't even bothered to redesign her in any way.
Eh.
She looks the
She
same.
survived 500 years wearing the same costume.
Come on, this is Final Fantasy. Weather does not affect characters. You only ever need one change of clothes.
Well, so long as they don't come up
That's a
with
good point.
something dumb about the change of clothes like they did in, what was that, Kingdom Hearts 3D, where they were like, whoa, what happened to my clothes? And then that was it.
I didn't play 3D.
Oh, well, that's what they
Neither
say.
have
That's the one I
I
wanted
thought
to
you
play
were the
too.
biggest Kingdom Hearts fan.
I am, but I don't have a 3DS.
Oh, I see.
Get one.
I want one. Spent too much money on competitive Yu-Gi-Oh play.
Oh.
Yep.
Time to give
Get
that
ready
hobby
for
up.
those tournaments.
Oh yeah. Got a tournament coming up. I'm so ready to lose.
But yeah, I mean, like, the changing costumes, I hope they make that transition a little more, acceptable. I mean, the one for Sarah was kind of like, oh, she's the seer, so,
Let's give her fanciful clothing.
yeah, fancy.
Fancy.
Well, speaking of changing clothing, something else you may have missed in the trailer was the paradigm system, or styles as they're now apparently calling it. You could see it when they were showing off the battle that it would occasionally change, like, what was it, Enchanter, I think was one of them. What were some of the other ones?
Cerberus, I think.
Cerberus was another one, that's right. And when she changes styles, her clothes change, as well as her abilities and, I don't know, her abilities and stats maybe might even change.
I couldn't tell if her attacking animation changed or not.
Her weapons
Well-
change, don't they?
Yeah.
Like her equipment.
I think they did. Yeah, because one she had a crazy looking shield, and another one it was more normal looking.
There was also one with like this humongous two-handed sword that kind of looked. I don't know. It kind of looked like
Clouds.
one of not clouds. It was I'm trying to think of what character used it. It looked like it kind of like curved out at the top, like a fan almost. I don't know. I can't remember who used that sword.
Cloud had one like that. The Rune Edge, I believe it was called.
It kind of looks like that.
But she'll probably have different abilities and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
same
thing
animations.
I noticed most was the different abilities.
The Cerberus outfits kind of reminds me of a cross between Lightning's original 13 outfit and the cowgirl for the pants.
Really.
Howdy.
Oh yeah, actually, I could see that. Yeah, I could see that.
I don't know why. It just does.
This game really seems all over the place.
In the trailer thread on the forums, there's somebody who poses some really good close-up shots of the different costumes for each of the different styles, and yeah, you can I can actually see that based on one of those screenshots, just the way the pants are.
The trailer shows 3 outfits, namely Divinity, which is the default.
Our default one.
Yeah. Cerberus and Enchanter. And yes, the skills do change.
So let's just talk about the graphics again for a bit. Do you guys think the game is graphically good enough to pass in 2013? Especially now that the Wii U is out, and with the PS4 and Xbox 720 rumored to be coming out at the end of the year?
I think it's okay. I mean, we haven't really seen anything of PlayStation 4 or Xbox, so we don't really know yet.
Yeah.
But I think it's expected that they're going to be significantly better than what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
And supposing the game comes out at the end of the year, and it only looks like an average 360 or PS3 game, do you think...
But if you look on RPGs in general, we don't really have that many, and most of them don't look the same or worse anyway, so...
A lot of the best RPGs kind of fall behind graphically anyway.
Yeah, that's a good point.
But I think like the general consensus is if, the prequels looked good and then the sequel looked bad, I think that would be bad for the game in general.
Well, that, yeah.
It's like... Yeah, if it doesn't look as good as the earlier ones, then that's definitely a problem.
Like,
It should be going up, not down.
Yeah.
I mean, if Versus came out with like terrible graphics, I wouldn't mind it as much. Okay, maybe just a little. But you get the point.
I wouldn't mind, that's a lie.
I just want a good story, really. But
Yeah.
I think Lightning Returns needs to get polished a little more. I'm frankly not very impressed with their first trailer ever.
Yeah, I think it's too early to be able to really say about the graphics. I mean, it looks like they just put it on and haven't worked on cleaning it up yet.
The characters actually look pretty good,
Yeah.
but it's mainly the environments that need major work. It would also be nice to have some particle effects, so like dust in the air or something like that. And there's like none of that. It's just bare. It's totally barren.
I think they have a lot of time to do it still. And since
they do have a lot of time. Yeah.
You have to live the same day over and over, so you're probably gonna, spend time in the same places. So they're gonna work on the same places for this whole time, probably.
I hope so. I hope you're right.
I have a feeling it'll be up to par by the time the game comes out. I feel.
Yeah, it should be. A lot of people have been pointing at the screenshots and saying that, like, oh, the trailer's not a good representation because the screenshots look good. Mm-hmm. And I don't think that's a valid excuse because the screenshots are about half the resolution of the game. And if you cut the resolution in half, things like aliasing and low-resolution textures will suddenly disappear, and it looks fine.
Those are not even screenshots, they're also bullshots.
Well, exactly.
Square Enix has been known to do this every single time.
Oh, I also want to point out that, according to an interview, that Luxarion would be present at the opening of the game, including the opening cutscene. So I'd imagine they would work on it first before everything else. They also said the map layout is close to being completed, so obviously not done yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, so...
I still have to polish things.
Pretty much.
Okay, so we'll move on to our next bit of news. Famitsu had some details about Lightning Returns Final Fantasy XIII. Lightning's new costume is designed by Tetsuya Nomura. So
Shocker
I'm
there.
actually a little bit surprised that there aren't more belts, but that's another topic altogether. Yeah.
Is it just me or the costume is just bad?
I don't know. I kind of like
I think
it, and
her
I kind of
default
don't.
one's okay.
I feel like Nomura is trying to sabotage Lightning Returns.
Maybe.
Okay, well, to be fair, I think Toriyama might have a hand in that. So, I mean, they did kind of discuss the design of the outfit. I mean, one of the more glaring parts of the interview was how, the people from Famitsu were talking about how revealing the outfit was, if you look from some of the screenshots. Yep. So
she's not wearing pants.
No pants, nothing in the back. So
right.
She's gonna, run around and those flaps of clothing gonna, flop around and you'll be able to see her legs, her back. It's like it's a creepy anime game.
Right, so the flaps, apparently it was intended in some way.
Clearly.
Because, no, their claim was that, when it was in motion, like, when she's moving or jumping or whatever, that it, opens up really nicely and looks really cool, according to them. And also, like, yeah, there's a bit of a color scheme that they wanted to change around. Like, they wanted a little bit of red from Final Fantasy XIII.
Yeah.
So
I
did red in Final Fantasy XIII.
Yeah, like she had a cape or something. And it was
scarf.
I've purged,
I've
purged about half of that game from my memory, so you'll have to forgive me.
You're not alone.
The first 20 hours they just go right by. I don't even feel them anymore.
Well, in Famitsu, they detailed about changing Lightning's costume, and apparently you're actually going to be able to customize the color of her costumes.
Thank God.
So, I mean, I guess that's kind of cool. Not sure how useful it'll be, but I don't know. It's always nice to be able to customize those sort of things. Time is always flowing, except for when you have the menu open on the field. Every NPC's whereabouts and actions will constantly change. Well, I don't think we saw that in the trailer. The NPCs look pretty static.
Rooted to the ground.
Yeah.
Yeah, you'll need a demo for that.
And there weren't too many of them either.
I suppose they're following the Skyrim's way of encoding the NPCs, maybe.
How's that? Like they just stand there?
No, I mean like
I've not played.
They kind of like move around and stuff.
Yeah, they kind of
and do different things depending where they are.
They free roam.
Okay.
Pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if they're following that kind of model though.
Well, that's probably what they'll end up doing. And certain information can only be obtained at certain times. So as Josh was saying, like you may have to wait for night to fall, and then maybe you can only gain that information at that time. Or it may even have something to do with the global clock that's going on, where you only have 13 days or whatever left to save the world. It may even have something to do with that.
The game's gonna go by so quickly the first playthrough, I feel like.
I wonder. I wonder if it'll actually be a short game, but you'll just play it a lot of times.
Well, coming up,
Like
this said if you defeat monsters, you get time, right? So maybe if you level grind, you'll have a lot of time.
Yeah, maybe.
Instead of level grinding, there's
imagine
time grinding.
I mean, if you get your time back, can't you replay the same place over and over? So maybe.
I don't know. I know if you die, you lose a day or something. That was one of the first things they said.
Maybe it's one of those silly plots where when you kill a monster, there's a little bit less chaos left in the world or something.
Whatever Toriyama writes will not surprise me anymore. I've become numb to his writing, so I just kind of roll with it now.
Do not listen to his lies.
Yeah.
The whole concept actually reminds me of Tales of Graces. There was an extra dungeon where you could defeat monsters. And, the more time you spend, the harder they become, but if you defeat them, the percentage of the attack power decreases. So it kind of feels the same, except attack power, you have time.
Okay, Lightning is the only playable character. Well, we already knew that, but I guess I just want to emphasize that.
I wanted to add that they did mention, the characters from previous games might show up. Possibly. Yeah. I don't know if they meant as guest characters or...
Like how Snow was in 13-2?
They probably won't be playable.
I think they will be, NPCs.
Yeah.
Kind of
they'll
like
probably
Hope
be part of the story.
13-2.
Oh, kind of hoping for guests, though. Oh, well.
Oh, you mean the guest playable characters like in 12?
Sure, but you can't really control them.
No.
Darn it.
Lightning uses styles in battle. Each style consists of a certain weapon, shield, accessories, and abilities. So that's more detail about the point we said earlier. So it's not just the abilities that change. It's also her weapons and accessories. And you can customize Lightning's appearance and ability considerably. So I imagine that would mean that you can specify a style and you can choose what armor set you want for Lightning.
Probably changing on the fly as well.
Yeah, exactly. So in battle you can change what style you want depending on the situation in battle.
It could add to the depth of strategy of the game. That was kind of
could.
It was kind of lacking in 13-2, which is pretty much just hit X to win.
Yeah.
Except for the DLC fights. Those were pretty tough.
And you can customize Lightning's appearance and ability considerably. So they've been really stressing that point, and I think it just goes to the fact that with the styles you can customize just about everything you want to do with Lightning. Because previously you'd be able to change your paradigms like in 13 or 13.2, but you couldn't change your equipment. Or could you? No. You couldn't change your equipment during battle, could you?
Not during battle.
No.
It can be
so yeah, you were just stuck with that one weapon. Which is probably usually okay if you have the best weapon in the game, but let's say you're fighting an elemental monster, you definitely might want to switch those up a little bit.
I think you might end up with different equipment for different styles. So if
you
wanted
mean
to change...
you can't customize that?
I think you can customize each style. I'm not sure if you can customize it on the fly.
No, you probably have to do that in the menu.
Right.
But you can change your styles.
Right, you can change styles on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you can't change what they do on the fly.
I guess styles is their new version of paradigms. So instead of that little screen that says,
paradigm shift
mode, or paradigm shift, right? It's now changing costume.
You chose the wrong paradigm. Game over.
You chose the wrong pair of clothes.
Game over.
Minus one day.
Yep.
And maybe you can equip weapons to different styles, and you can switch them if you switch styles inside the battles.
I think what they're trying to say is you change styles during battle, but you set up your styles in the menus. I think that's what they're getting at.
Yeah.
That's what I mean.
That's what I think, yeah.
Yeah.
So as we were discussing earlier, by defeating monsters, Lightning can earn points to increase her available time and items to strengthen her equipment. The battle system has not yet been determined. Right now they're calling it Amazing ATB Battle System. Ooh. But
that's the Amazing Active Time Battle System.
Yeah, sounds so cool.
Yeah.
Just wanna play
Actually, it sounds pretty lame. Yeah, that sounds like something Toriyama would say.
Oh, yeah.
Well, let's hope it switches it up, because they did say it's supposed to be, somewhat close.
Amazing.
I don't know, somewhat close to the versus method, wasn't it? Or did I mistake that?
Well, they're using versus components. Maybe they're borrowing elements from the battle system. I don't even really remember what versus battle system looked like.
I think it was more of like a Kingdom Hearts kind of thing.
It was Kingdom Hearts with teleporting.
That's what I thought.
With numbers flying on your heads.
Yes. Talking about Lightning Returns makes you want Versus even more. The more I talk about this, the less I want to play this and more I want to play Versus.
Versus does not exist.
What is Versus?
I think you need to accept the fact that it just does not exist. It's a tech demo.
I think there's a full game release and there's only one copy and it's in Nomura's basement that he plays when he's tired of designing belts.
Yeah.
I think it's a tech demo. Just accept it.
Well, if the game doesn't end up coming out this year, they might as well just release it for the next generation platforms.
That's probably what's going to happen.
Well,
you never know, but in the past, that has not served anyone well at all. Like Duke Nukem and Too Human, those ended up being terrible. So,
but it seems like everybody on the internet thinks they're going to show something during E3 for it, and we know the next consoles might be shown on E3 as well. So maybe.
Maybe it'll be a launch title.
Could be.
That would be.
I mean, it might still come to PS3, but
it's too late at that point.
Yeah, they might do it PS3 and next gen.
Hey, that's possible.
Weren't a lot of early PS3 games like that on the PS2 as well?
Yeah, because they want to sell to as many people as possible, considering how long they wasted, how much time, and how much money.
Okay, here's a thought. Maybe Agni's philosophy is Versus.
Nah.
Dun, dun.
Nope. Inception.
It's just the other side of the planet we've never seen before.
Yeah, Agni's actually Stella.
Yeah.
I think Agni is Stella's nobody.
She's just somebody who shot
nobody,
magic
yeah.
and got hurt. She got hurt from shooting magic. She's a reject character. Come on.
She's a grunt.
She was too. She didn't seem to have any importance.
Well, anyways, back on topic.
Sidetrack.
Though you're only controlling one character, it feels as if you're fighting with multiple, according to the magazine.
Jeez, I wonder why.
Maybe because of the styles. It almost seems like it's a different character whenever you change it.
No.
No.
No. Nope.
That's no excuse.
Nope.
Anyways, monsters appear even in the city.
That's kind of cool.
We had it in 13.
It might get annoying, actually. Because if all you want to do is just go to the shop and, I got to run into this monster here first.
I was just trying to buy a potion. Why do you have to show up, Behemoth?
Yeah.
I don't think cities will feel like cities. Because, I mean, technically we had cities in Final Fantasy XIII, but because of monsters, they just felt like dungeons.
But I guess it also kind of goes with the whole theme of the game where, like, it's coming to an end, and it would make sense that monsters have, like, taken over everything.
Yeah,
so what exactly is everybody doing for the past 500 years? Just sitting on their asses?
Yeah.
Pretty much.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
Waiting for the apocalypse.
Twiddling their thumbs, waiting for lightning to save them, and then yell at her.
Yeah. And it's not even sarcasm. They actually were sitting, like, waiting for the end. It's just that there were a bunch of other people who, think they are helping speed up the end of the world by killing more people. So, hence the serial killers.
This game is going to be weird.
It's going to be different.
Toriyama said it's more mature, audience-oriented, based on the killing.
Like he knows what that is.
I don't want to know.
Maybe the first M-rated Final Fantasy game?
Thanks to Toriyama.
Maybe. I don't think so. It won't be M-rated.
If Final Fantasy VII wasn't M-rated, I don't think so.
Probably going to be PG again.
So, Black Haze will appear in specific areas at certain times. The new area will become monster territory. I don't totally understand that.
I'm assuming
What
Black
do you guys-
Haze is chaos.
Yeah.
Chaos. Okay.
Maybe.
Half of the game's monsters are new. I guess that's a good thing, because I think 13.2 used quite a few of the monsters, and they looked very, very strangely similar to what they looked like in 13.
90% of them are the same.
I do want to say that I do not want to see any color palette swaps for different monsters.
You know
different
we
monster
will.
levels.
We'll still see some.
I really
They've
hate
been doing that since day one.
I don't mind
Especially
that, to
for
be
those
honest.
new monsters.
What, the palette swaps?
Yeah, Like you have like the base behemoth, but then later in the game you have a more powerful behemoth and it looks a different color. I don't mind that.
I feel like in the older games, it really gave a sense of progression. Like you can, like they're the same types of enemies, but they're getting stronger.
And it almost gives you a bit of fear because if previous in the game there was a really powerful monster of a certain type, and you see it again in a different color, it's like, oh no, not this guy again. So I don't mind that.
I usually just register that as a lazy effort.
Well, it is a little bit.
Yeah.
'Cause
it's almost
it does require less work.
It's almost as bad as Dissidia's mannequins.
Yeah.
Those are just...
For the record, I like Dissidia, but the mannequins are pretty bad.
And the game's conclusion can be experienced straight from the package, so no downloadable content will be required, unlike Final Fantasy XIII 2. So that is definitely a good thing to know there.
Woo!
Huzzah!
Waves
That's
flag.
worked out too well.
I think I don't think too many people are happy that they have to buy an extra package just to be able to finish the game properly.
Didn't they just start this DLC trend only with 13.2?
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, it feels like every
Square
time they
Enix,
wanted to do big downloadable content, but every time they failed. Like they were supposed to do downloadable content for 13, but then they never released it. And 13.2 was supposed to have some dungeon content, but they also cancelled it. So maybe,
Yeah, I
because
remember
of
them
that.
talking. Yeah, I remember them talking about 13 would have DLC, but that never happened. I guess they just decided to go with the sequel instead.
Yeah.
I don't mind
same here.
DLC that adds story and stuff, but I have a problem when it's it's a conclusion to what you have on disc.
Yeah.
Like with
That.
Borderlands 2, the DLC is its separate thing. It's got its own stuff, but you don't need to play it to find out what happens in the base game. You know? Unlike 13.2, where you had to spend an extra $10-15 for the lightning scenario.
Yeah.
Which was silly.
And it's almost like Mass Effect 3 as well, because there was lots of backlash from the fans that the ending was terrible. And I think the whole time BioWare and EA were planning, we're going to have the real ending as DLC and we're going to charge $5 or $10 for it. But I think because of the huge backlash, all the fans or they figured it out, and as a result, they made the DLC free.
Yep.
Okay, and then the last point is that Katase guarantees that you'll be satisfied by the outcome of previous games' characters' stories. Now, I have a problem with this point because guarantee is a very strong word.
Yeah, I'm not gonna hold my breath.
I don't believe Katase's lies either.
Yeah, same.
Well, I think he's a little bit more truthful than Toriyama, and he's not quite as in his own little world, but you never know.
I feel like Toriyama's having a negative influence on Katase, and he's just falling further and further behind sanity.
But isn't Kitase the one who supports Toriyama?
Yes.
So, I think they're both cuckoo in the same kind of way.
Yeah, I guess. All right. Well, our last bit of news is about Kingdom Hearts 1.5 HD Remix, because it also had a trailer.
Oh,
at Jump
yeah.
Festa. Well, Josh, you sound quite excited about that.
Oh, it brought back so many good memories.
You know, when I watched it, like, you hear the music of Kingdom Hearts, and that was a good thing to hear. I enjoyed that.
Like, I saw all these scenes from Kingdom Hearts 1 that, when I played on my PS2, just a week ago. Like, they looked really bad and all jaggy and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're all smoothed out and nice looking, and it just made me smile.
Yeah. Yeah, there was a screenshot comparison of the two games. I'm not sure if it was... I think it was just two screenshots that were released, but anyways, the difference was quite substantial. Like, all the edges are nicely anti-aliased, although that could be because of the screenshot, but I'm sure they anti-aliased it.
Yeah.
And also, biggest of all, though, was the face textures. The eyes especially had a lot more detail than before, so that's quite nice to see. And we were discussing, it was either last episode or the episode before, whether they're going to be increasing the polygon count, and as far as I could tell, they look to be the same models, so I don't think there's any polygon changes there. It's just the textures, but the textures made a big difference, let me tell you that. Also, the lighting seemed improved.
Yeah. I can't wait till I get my hands on it. Day one purchase.
Yeah, the trailer didn't really excite me that much because there's really nothing new because we've seen it before. I don't know, that's just me though. What do you guys think?
I feel like it was supposed to hit your nostalgia button, make you reminisce.
I think you're right about that.
Were there new CG scenes, or was I mistaken?
I think they were the same ones.
I was about to say I was really excited when I saw something I didn't see before.
Maybe it was because it was from the
the 358/2. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think they're supposed to make some new ones. I don't know if they're in the trailer.
Or are they? Oh.
Yeah, to make the story flow better. So they're just putting cutscenes that we already had.
Yes!
But
The secret ending for the game is a trailer for the next Kingdom Hearts spinoff that you'll never play. This one is on the Vita. That's the only console I haven't hit yet.
Okay, well that just wraps up our news segment. So now we'll move on to our questions segment. Okay, so our first question is by Lero1000. With the technology that has been taken from Versus 13 to make Lightning Returns, do you think that this will make Versus a less special, unique of an entry into the series? Well, in my opinion, I don't think it'll be too much of a problem because I think the technology that would be taken from Versus would be mostly the back-end technology that they're talking about. So maybe graphically the game might look like similar because they're more or less running the same engine. But other than that, I don't think they'll actually feel similar. So I don't think it'll be a problem in the end. Katya, what do you think?
Well, the battle systems look pretty different, so I don't think it's going to affect it that much. I think, other games made by other developers make it less special and unique than Lightning Returns. Because, I think when we saw Versus for the first time in 2006, it looked amazing. But now you had all these other games that look great, like Uncharted, and I don't know if it's gonna hold up at this point.
It might not, yeah. Like if it only looks like 13, people might be disappointed.
Yeah.
They might be expecting it to be like Uncharted quality graphics.
Many people think of it as a second coming of Christ, so I don't know.
Then again, the game is exclusive to the PS3, so they should be able to
for
tap
now.
into potentially. For now. If it hasn't been announced for another platform yet, it probably won't be unless they make it for next generation platforms. Then they might say, okay, well, we're developing it for these consoles now. And
we haven't heard about the game for 2 years now. Who knows what they've been doing with it? Maybe they're revamping it for other consoles.
Maybe they're done with the game and they're just hoarding it to themselves.
It's a tech demo, damn it.
Well, Josh, what do you think about this? Do you think it'll make it less?
I think it'll be less special graphically, but like story-wise and just the conceptual stuff, it still seems like something I haven't seen before, and that's what kind of interests me. But I think the more visual aspects are going to be less special / unique.
Yeah. The cutscenes at least looked unbelievable. Like the CG ones, like they looked incredible.
There was all that detail in that car.
Actually,
that's
nice. Exactly,
Mm-hmm.
to be honest, that is the scene I was thinking of in the car. And it's not just the car itself, but the way that they use like lens effects, because the background stuff had like this beautiful lens blur, so it looked very realistic and well done. So, Brian, I know you think it's a tech demo, but what would you say to this question?
Well, geez, I really do think that no matter what Lightning Returns does, it will never be on the same level as Versus. But that's probably because we put Versus on a pedestal too much, but right now, I guess Lightning Returns really didn't take enough from Versus, if that's what the question's about. It looks absolutely horrible right now to me. So either they took the wrong parts or they're just not doing it right.
The game looks like a mess.
But I think about Versus being less special or unique, come on. The fact that it has been released for like God knows how long makes it special in its own way, But graphic wise, definitely Versus, no doubt about it.
All right. Our next question is a two-part question asked by Val. If Final Fantasy XV was never announced and Final Fantasy Versus 13 was the last new title to be released under the Final Fantasy brand, how would you feel? In addition, what titles do you think could have the potential to become the next Final Fantasy in terms of size and popularity? We'll start with you, Katya.
I'd be okay with it. I mean, this actually would get released, right? And I mean, I don't know if they can make another Final Fantasy that's, as big as older games. Because, new consoles require bigger and bigger budget, and these games are supposed to be huge and expensive. I mean, I don't think they could keep up. And if you look, at other developers that made RPGs, like, most of them went under. So, I mean, I would be okay with it. And, for new titles, other titles, I think Shin Megami Tensei could do well. I mean, it's already big in Japan, and it existed for as long as Final Fantasy, so... I mean, Persona is already doing well in the West. So I think it could do well.
I too think Persona has the potential to reach that kind of status where everybody knows about it. I mean, the Arena and Golden out, its popularity is growing really well.
I mean, I think also Tales could do fine. But other than that, it would need to be new IPs. But nobody has a budget for it.
And Brian, what do you think?
15 never announced, and Versus being the last title. Not surprised at all, in fact. I guess the next Final Fantasy, the next game that would have the potential, I'm hoping it would be the Type series, Type 0. I think they were talking about it at one point. Like Type 1 or Type 2. Like, they want to spawn their own Type series. So maybe that will work out. But they need to get us the Western release of Type 0 first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, have you seen the topic on Square Enix forums where they ask what you want from us? Like, everybody's asking for Type 0 localization. 33 pages of that.
I never actually thought about this, but Final Fantasy 1, that was never localized to begin with, right?
Well,
it was never localized.
1 was.
1 was?
2 and 3 weren't.
2 wasn't. Oh, okay.
The original 2 and 3 weren't.
Okay.
Wait, I thought 5 wasn't.
And 2 was super buggy as well.
Well, I'm assuming... Final Fantasy 1 came about as kind of a last resort game for Square Enix, wasn't it? Well, Square back then. So maybe history will repeat itself, when Square Enix is on its last legs, they're going to come out with this one game that would save them.
I think Final Fantasy Square Enix would be a lot better off when Yuichi Wada is not running the company. It doesn't seem like
Toriyama's not directing.
Yeah, but I don't mind him as a director. Just not as a Final Fantasy director.
Oh.
Who, Wada?
I don't think he should direct Final Fantasy, because what he wants to do isn't really Final Fantasy, so he should not do it. But he should do something else.
Yeah, I can see that. For me, I would be disappointed if Versus was the last one. I don't really know why, because I have been kind of like I just don't care quite as much about the series as I used to. But I still hold hope that like the next game will be better.
Hope is a lie.
Yeah, but as a fan, you do like hold on to the series and like, oh well, don't worry, the next one will be better. So I don't know, it might be just mental kind of trying to make yourself feel better, but supposing it was the last one, I think if another one were to take over, this is gonna sound maybe kind of random, but maybe something like Ni no Kuni, not that game itself or like as a series, but more that style of game. Like I would really like to see Studio Ghibli doing more games. Like I could see them creating their own gaming studio, in fact, where they do games that look exactly like Ni no Kuni. I could see something like that taking over, especially with that graphical style, since it's not quite as demanding as something like Final Fantasy XIII, which requires probably a much significantly larger budget compared to Ni no Kuni. And with Final Fantasy XIII and that type of RPG, the overworld maps don't make quite as much sense, but in like Ni no Kuni, it fits perfectly and really well done. So I could see something like that taking over, because a lot of people are talking about it and how it's doing all these great things that used to be standard with RPGs or JRPGs and are no longer done. So I could see something like that taking over, to be honest. And Josh, what do you think?
I don't know, I think I'd be a little devastated if Final Fantasy stopped after Versus. I mean, it was the first franchise I really got invested into. Like,
yeah, me too.
with like what 9, 10, 7, like all these, like even the older ones too, like they've influenced like what games I think are good so much. Like if they just disappeared, I don't know what I'd do. That'd be a little strange. I don't know. As for a title I think that has the potential to become the next Final Fantasy, I have to go with the Persona games, 'cause after the cliffhanger Persona 4 Arena had, it just really seems like it's going to take off.
I don't think they're gonna use that cliffhanger for an actual Persona. Maybe another fighting game sequel, but not Persona game. As an RPG.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, did you play Elizabeth's story?
Yeah, I played everything. I mean, if you look at the BlazBlue series, which is made by the same developer, like they have cliffhanger like this at the end of every game that they release, and then they make another fighting game with a sequel story to that. And they could
Well,
easily
I can't think of a reason why the characters would fight each other again. I mean, the whole plot they had was they were forced to, but I mean, could that really happen?
They can make
again?
something up.
I don't know. I'm hoping for an RPG, but that's just me.
Because Persona 5 would need to have all new cast.
You think so?
Otherwise, I don't know, I think it would be boring.
Well, I mean, Persona 1 and 2, like, 2 had a lot of the cast from 1 in it, didn't it?
It had one person. I mean, it had similar themes, but mostly they're like Final Fantasy, the number titles, with some fun service.
I don't know. I really do think Persona has that potential.
Yeah,
I
same.
mean, it's really taken off, and that makes me happy because I like the games a lot.
Actually, I'm thinking if Nintendo makes Pokemon 3D, that could take off well. It already has a huge fan base.
I lost interest in Pokemon a long time ago.
Okay. Our last question is by Phoenix, and he asks, or she, I'm not sure. Do you feel that Square Enix has an issue with announcing... Okay, good. Do you feel that Square Enix has an issue with announcing games far too early? And Phoenix uses Versus 13 and 13 and also Final Fantasy X HD Remake as an example there. So, Brian, what do you have to say about that?
Well, when I read the question, it was more of like, it was just Versus. It was just aimed purely at Versus. But, I don't know about like 10 HD. Like, I think it just got pushed back because of, Kingdom Hearts 1.5. So it's not, I guess, aside from Versus, they didn't really have that much of an issue about announcing games far too early, per se.
I think they did. I mean, Final Fantasy XIII took many years, and we had Type 0. And what else? I'm sure we're gonna wait another decade for Agnes Philosophy if it ever becomes real.
I think that's because, like, Type 0 and 13 were part of the, the FNC umbrella. So, in that sense, I guess people might think that they're all, like, Final Fantasy 13 games, which they were at one point. So, I guess they tried developing these games parallel to each other. So, it kind of slowed production on all the games in that umbrella. So, like, when Type 0 broke off from that umbrella, you realize that they managed to get the game out a lot faster. So, I'm not sure if it's
the
because
third
of
birthday
the FNC.
also took a lot of time, which was announced around the same time as Type 0. And every time they would announce Kingdom Hearts, I remember it would take years for them to release it.
Well, I never really found that much of an issue except for Versus, really. And Kingdom Hearts 3, but that might just be a fans thing. They were like...
Yeah. Like, they never actually announced Kingdom Hearts 3.
Wasn't there a thing that said it was going to run on Crystal Tools, like, forever ago?
Doesn't sound familiar.
Remember reading a thing that said the next Kingdom Hearts game was going to use Crystal Tools for the engine.
Well, maybe they said that.
Yeah.
For
I don't know
3D,
if it was 3.
probably.
I'm not sure about it.
I think it came out after 3D, though, or, like, right as 3D was coming out.
Well, it doesn't really matter because right now, we don't even know, how long they're going to take to make 3 anyways.
Yeah, it'll probably take a long time.
Yeah, probably after Versus.
Well, I know they seem to pump out Kingdom Hearts games pretty quick.
Yeah, they do, actually. But then again, they're only on handhelds, and there's nearly as much development for that.
And didn't they outsource them to somebody?
Oh, yeah.
358 I know was outsourced. I don't know about the others.
Could I expand on this question a little?
Okay.
Go for it.
I wanted to say, like, using Versus as an example, how Versus kind of released a trailer, a couple of years ago. Was it 2 or 3 years? Just to kind of show us where they're at right now. Do you guys think that they should actually just pretend it never existed and then, like, after the first initial announcement and then pretend that we're not working on it, or just generally not provide any news about it until
So
they're
just abandon it.
well, not really abandon it, just to the public they'll just say, oh, we don't know it, like Versus is gone or whatever, and then when they're really finally able to show something, then they say, hey, we have Versus now, instead of kind of teasing us with like, oh, please wait for more news, because that's just agonizing.
I think they would do it only if they actually cancel it. Because remember, like, once they had Last Remnant for PS3, they just stopped talking about it completely. Although it was supposed to release simultaneously with 360.
Well, I'll tell you what. There was another game where that exact same thing happened, and it was called Duke Nukem Forever.
Yep.
Everybody thought
Woohoo.
they were done making it. We heard nothing for it for, I don't know, 5, 6, 7 years or whatever it was.
10.
Then it showed up again.
10 years, and then all of a sudden, it's in development again, and it's going to be released this year.
And it was a flop.
I mean, we also have The Last Guardian now.
Oh yeah, the new game from guys who made Shadow of the Colossus and Eco.
It's the same thing.
Yes, that's right. That one's taking a very long time.
Like, we should bet what comes out
Too
first.
We should. I think one or the other. I think Last Guardian has a better chance of coming out first, primarily because it is a Sony studio, and they might put more pressure on them. Either like,
Yeah, I'm skeptical.
if they want, like, maybe it won't even be a PS3 game anymore. Maybe it'll be a PS4 game or something. Who knows? But yeah,
It's in the
if
same
one or the
boat.
two, I bet Last Guardian has. Yeah, it really is in the same boat. They were announced, I think, the same E3, in fact. Weren't they?
And every time you ask them, they say, oh, we're still working on it. It's like the same exact thing.
See, the thing is, isn't Versin being tasked to Square's, what was that, first production department? Which is essentially the main production department in Square Enix.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
technically, you would think they'd focus more on Versus than on something silly like Lightning Returns,
Well, they keep pulling members from Versus's team to work on other games. Like they pulled a lot to work on 14.
I mean, I can understand pulling members for 14 because, it's kind of like source of income. But Lightning Returns, really? Come on.
Well, I think like they actually see the 13 saga, or whatever you want to call it, Lightning Saga, as their main game.
Or it's their pilot.
For this entire generation. They see it as, this is the face of Square Enix right now. And they haven't even really explored the possibility of Versus being actually what the fans want most. So
I still think the Lightning Saga is kind of like a pilot for Versus.
In what sense? Like,
In that-
they're testing the technology and what people want,
Yeah, in general.
and then they'll make Versus perfect.
Because, I mean, 13, 13.2, now Lightning Returns, all focus on very different things. So, like, in terms of battle system, story, I guess, just in general. Yeah. I don't know if they're using there as a pilot. I don't know.
It's all part of Nomura's master plan.
Obviously.
Okay, so that pretty much wraps up our question segment. If you have any questions you'd like to ask us, you can go onto the Final Fantasy-FXN.net forums and ask your question in the questions thread. So now we'll move on to our feature discussion. This month we'll be talking about Lightning Returns and its similarities to Assassin's Creed. So, based on the trailer that we saw, platforming looks to be a major gameplay mechanic and looks to be reminiscent of Assassin's Creed. And many people have actually made this comparison. Like, even Lightning's costume shares some similarities to what you might see in Assassin's Creed game. And platforming is not the only similarity, because there also appears to be some stealth gameplay, and the way that they've described the NPC behavior also is something that the two games share in common. So, do you guys see the similarity? We'll start with Katya.
I think it's in line with 13 too. Like, I don't really see it as much. I mean, she might climb some stuff, but I don't think she's gonna climb, huge buildings.
Well, actually, we did kind of see that in the trailer. Like, she climbed this giant ladder, go up on this platform, and then kind of
But that platform looks average to me. It's nothing that I haven't seen
well,
before from them. Like, I feel it's borrowing more from a lot of other different games than it does from Assassin's Creed.
What about Brian? What would you have to say?
You gotta refresh my memory about the stealth portion, because I don't remember any part of that.
Well, I'm just kind of guessing on that, but some of the screenshots looked like lightning was hiding behind a wall, and it was nighttime, and there were some guards off in the distance. That's what made me think of stealth.
I don't know, it's probably just a cutscene, but I don't know. Like, I do get the costume similarities, probably because it's all flowy and white and whatever.
And white.
Yeah, probably mainly white. And a lot of jumping, but
yeah.
Actually, now that you mentioned this, it was also in 13 too. Like, there was a dark area with lights going like back and forth, and you have to make sure to be in the light, because if you go in the dark, you get attacked by enemies. So we already had that as well.
Oh yeah, that area.
So again, I think they're just rehashing what we already had. I don't think they're really trying to copy that.
I threw Mog at a behemoth once.
Huh.
It was funny. I got a gil from it.
Really?
I got 1 gil from throwing Mog at a behemoth.
I just like throwing him down like really high places. But I guess the only vibe I really get from it is, you know, the whole climbing around buildings, jumping and stuff. And the costume. Yeah. That was pretty much it. I don't think it was all intentional, or, you know, I don't think they even thought about Assassin's Creed really, but yeah.
Okay.
Coincidental.
Josh, what do you think?
I don't know, pretty much the same thing as Brian. Like, it's more coincidental, but you can see it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, the platforming doesn't look to be the focus. It looks like it's there to be there and not really have a purpose, like I said earlier. There's random ladders and random poles just sticking out of the ground in random places with, like, I don't know, it's weird.
Well, you see, I probably wouldn't even really thought about this earlier, but like they seem to make the platforming a major aspect of the trailer. Like a very large portion of it did spend time showing lightning climbing stuff and jumping around. So like it seems to me like they're really pushing that aspect of the game. Like it is important. It's not just on the side and like you might do the occasional jumping around here and there, but it's more like you'll be doing it a lot. And that's kind of what made me see the similarities there. NPC behavior, I'm not really sure because we haven't seen a whole lot of the NPCs yet, but it was mostly the platforming and her costume that made me see the similarity.
Do you think the platforming might be an excuse to be their version of a more open world?
I think they definitely are trying to move into that direction with this game. I think they even mentioned that the game is going to be more open, like it won't be linear as much. So
yes,
this might be their way of doing that as well.
Apparently you could travel to the other continents at the beginning of the game if you wanted to.
Yeah, probably.
So maybe you had to do a little more jumping for that.
A couple more ladders you gotta climb.
Yeah.
I mean, like, instead of, you know how like linear gameplay, like the traditional types, it's just going through a tunnel, right?
Yeah.
So I guess, like, you know, in a tunnel setting, it's just one plane, kind of like the horizontal plane.
Yeah.
Maybe adding the vertical plane makes it seem more open to them.
I wouldn't say that, but like if you're in the town, for example, normally you would be limited just to that one plane, but now you can crawl up buildings and go up ladders and stuff. But if there are only treasure chests up there, then it really serves no purpose at all. It just makes the illusion that it's now open. But if it does serve some kind of purpose, then I can see that being important, like a good aspect of the game. But it is kind of a dangerous thing because they might be just doing it to say, "Oh, look, we have platforming."
Yeah, I mean the same way they had choices in 13.2. It's all illusion.
I still think the scene where if Noel asks about snow or whatever, if you press one of the options, like Sarah starts talking really high pitched and really fast. I thought that was pretty humorous.
I think I know which one you're talking about.
It's like at the beginning of the game.
Yeah.
Well, Square Enix no doubt sees the success of Assassin's Creed since it's become one of the biggest and well-known franchises of this generation. So they might be wanting to attract that type of audience. You don't think so? It's just
Assassin's Creed
coincidence?
3 just kind of flopped for me. the way Mass Effect 3 flopped. It's just
But
the
you
ending.
can't deny its success as a franchise.
Well, Mass Effect was kind of successful.
Yeah, well, it definitely has. It was,
up until the ending of Mass Effect 3, which kind of just ruined the whole thing.
Yeah, but if Mass Effect 4 came out, do you think it would sell millions? Or would people just not buy it?
They're gonna have to fix the ending for 3 first.
Well, they did with the free DLC, or what do you want to call it?
Yeah, but so what I'm saying is, like, Assassin's Creed 3, that ending wasn't particularly satisfying either. So, I don't know.
I think if an Assassin's Creed 4 came out, it would sell millions easily, even if an ending wasn't as good as it could have been.
That's like saying Final Fantasy XIII 4 would sell millions. Based on, how terrible Lightning Returns would be.
Yeah. Well, I think people who play Assassin's Creed are a lot more casual. It's almost like Call of Duty. Like every Call of Duty game, people say, oh, it's even worse than the last one, and yet it sells like 20 million games. So
I don't know if Assassin's Creed's a casual game. There's a lot of tactics.
But it's just one of those games that everybody gets. It's like a Call of Duty game. It's just you get it because it's Assassin's Creed. That seems to be what the type of game it is to me. Like I've never played it myself. I'll say that right now. But
it's a very, very repetitive game.
Yep.
It never really looked that good to be honest with me. But
gotta hunt down those flags.
So regardless of whether or not Square Enix is actually like copying Assassin's Creed at all, do you think Square Enix should be trying to attract new audiences outside of the JRPG genre, or should they be focusing on the JRPG fan base instead?
I think they should stick to the JRPG. Honestly, what I've heard from a lot of people was that the main flaws of, this generation of JRPGs is that they're trying too much to be like the Western RPGs, which are a completely different genre altogether. They might be RPGs,
absolutely.
But really different.
Yeah.
So they could easily, be two different categories of RPGs. So, in a way the thing about JRPGs, why it's so attractive is because it's special. It's different from Western RPGs, and that's what draws Western players. So, the way they're trying to meet Western players, like Western RPGs, just kind of ruins the quality of JRPGs in general. So, I would say yes, do stick with the JRPG fan base instead.
Yeah. And I think also one of the things that makes JRPGs very different from Western RPGs is the linear storyline, because most Western RPGs don't have a linear storyline, and that's kind of more of a choose your own adventure. But almost every JRPG is linear in that aspect, where you only have one storyline to go. And I think that's better, because then it makes a better storyline in the end. And I think that's one of the things that has always been great about Final Fantasy, is what was its storyline and characters. So I think they really should focus on that rather than, or what other genres are doing.
Yeah, I would hate to see Final Fantasy Skyrim.
Yeah, wandering around the forest.
Yeah, the main storyline would have absolutely no significance at all.
So Katya and Josh, what would you guys say about that?
For me, it's both yes and no, because for me personally, I enjoy JRPGs more, so I would like them to stick to that more. But from the business standpoint, I'm not so sure, because in the last half a decade, we didn't really have that many good JRPGs, so, it's like a whole generation of people who grew up and they don't have any emotional attachment to that, and they would rather go buy Skyrim or something. So I'm not sure if they would go and buy Final Fantasy. That's very Japanese. But then again, they're trying to be Western, and if you look at Final Fantasy XIV, although you go around the forest and stuff, but it still has a Final Fantasy feel and still has Final Fantasy-like story. So if they try hard, it doesn't mean they're going to screw it up, even if it's a bit more Western.
What about you, Josh?
Well, for me, what set JRPGs apart was the story, and now that other genres are making stories that are just as good as what JRPGs are putting out right now, in some cases.
Like what game?
I'm probably going to get a lot of crap for this, but I really like the Halo 4 campaign, I'll just say.
Cesar would be proud of you.
There was actually there was a little emotional attachment in that game. I'm not going to spoil it because it's kind of huge, but
the dark times are coming.
It was actually pretty good. It was just really short because it's a shooter.
Yeah.
But it was actually well done, which surprised me.
Yeah, it always seemed like Halo did seem to have a better than average story for a first person shooter. And that's one thing that made that game unique, I think, was its story. It's not just, let's let's fight the Germans again. And
Yeah.
like that's what every first-person shooter was at that time. And then Halo came around and just revolutionized everything.
Which was it.
Yeah.
What I thought was interesting between Halo 3 and 4 was that they changed game studios altogether, and they still managed.
That's right, they did.
Something.
Mm-hmm.
343 is the new Halo developer.
Yeah, in fact, a lot of people are saying, I think a lot of people were skeptical, but now that they've actually played it, I think some people are even saying it's the best Halo of them all.
They do.
I think it is the best Halo.
Yeah, so...
But anyways, the point I was trying to make, JRPGs were set apart by their story, and now other games are crafting stories that are matching what JRPGs have put out recently. And so they've kind of lost what made them unique.
Uh-huh.
And I think they're trying to find a gameplay mechanic or, basically a gimmick that people like right now and add it to their game to try and compete, because they lost that edge they had.
Yeah.
Instead of just focusing on recreating, the next humongous, awesome, fantastic story, they're just trying to add a gameplay gimmick that makes up for it because it's easier. I don't know.
There was one point about JRPGs being popular based on its turn-based game mechanic. And I feel like the more they move away from it, the more they're losing their JRPG element from. So
I agree with that as well. Yeah, that was something that was pretty unique. You can only get that from a JRPG.
Or Pokemon.
And actually, yeah, which is still popular. Pokemon actually might even be the most popular like JRPG, even though it's kind of a different type of JRPG. But do you guys think all the platforming will pay off, or will the game fail to live up to games like Assassin's Creed in that respect?
I think if it's not the focus of the game, the gameplay element's going to fall short. And if it falls short, then it's going to kind of end up being a waste of time. So unless they put a lot of effort into it, I think, make it important and useful, and and how it changes, what battle and stuff like that. If they don't do that, I feel like it's going to end up being there just to be there, and it's going to fall short. Yeah.
I mean, you're right. If it's not meaningful, if it's not a critical part of the gameplay, or of changing the game, then it will fall short, because then it'll just look like it was just tacked on, and people probably will compare it to Assassin's Creed, and people already have. So
I just don't want this platforming thing to be their replacement for throwing the Moogle around to find treasure chests. I want it to be part of the story in general. I want you to be maybe this monster flew up the top of this building, maybe go chase him there or whatever. I don't know.
Some really epic scene where you're on a castle and the castle's falling apart. You got to climb up and dodge debris and stuff.
Ooh, we got some Uncharted in there.
Yeah, a little Uncharted.
We are actually inside the falling building, and there's all this physics engine going on.
Yeah,
dodge all. Yeah, I'd like to see that.
That'd be cool.
I mean, I agree with you guys. It depends how they use it. If they create clever puzzles, then it could be nice. But if it's just there, just to climb up and get the chest, that would be pointless.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Honestly, I never really liked puzzles, but that's just me. I'm just too lazy for those stuff.
Well, sometimes the puzzles can be a little in the way. I really want to get into the story, but I have to do this puzzle first. But sometimes the puzzles can be very interesting.
But not puzzle, but, environmental puzzle. We haven't really had any good ones in the last couple of games.
Environmental ones, pushing boulders to get through. I would hate that.
I think 10 was maybe a good example.
The Cloister of Trials in 10 were pretty good puzzles, I thought.
I thought they were too, and they really made you think, because I was stuck on some of them.
I was stuck on the Thunder Temple, or the Ice Temple for a while.
Oh, for me, the Thunder one, I think it was very difficult.
I actually thought the puzzles done in 10 were very well integrated, actually.
Yes, they were, actually, because they were actually part of the story.
I loved it.
That's the kind of stuff I'm thinking about.
Stories. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But on the other hand, if it's stuff like the clock puzzles from 13-2, I may kill myself.
No, I hated those so much.
Use a cheat.
Okay, to get all the fragments, I just gave up trying to do it myself and looked online.
I didn't even bother.
I'm not even kidding. I just looked online.
Yeah, those are just terrible.
So, I think that sums up our discussion about Lightning Returns and Assassin's Creed. Just a quick little poll here. How many of you guys have played Assassin's Creed?
I have.
I played the early ones.
I never played it.
No. Okay, so 2 out of 4 have played it. And 3 out of 4 have played 13 too.
Oh, I hope there'll be more than 3 out of 4. Well, I don't know if I want to hope for that, but Lightning Returns is kind of up in the air right now.
Yeah, well, right now...
I'll still play it. But...
Yeah. Right now, I think the game looks good enough to me that I would play it. So, in that sense, maybe it'd be 4 out of 4 people playing that game.
Or I might just rent it. I don't know.
I'll get suckered into pre-ordering this collector's edition and get some useless thing I'll never use and then play the game and forget about it.
That finishes up our podcast here. You can find us on the iTunes Store, the Miro Podcast Directory, YouTube, on our Final Fantasy FXN channel, and of course you can also find us on finalfantasy-fxn.net. Our next episode will be released during the beginning of the next week of February.
Right around my birthday.
Really? Oh, so we'll
Yay.
have a little bit of a celebration then.
Woohoo!
It'll be a very, very special podcast.
Oh yeah. You don't want to miss it.
Hopefully you're not plastered during the recording.
That'd be entertaining,
Me
actually.
couldn't be.
So I think it's time for us to say our little goodbyes.
Bye, everyone.
Bye and stuff.
Bye.
Yeah, see you guys next time.